Thank you so much for doing this. I'm a huge fan. This is my first, me being a guest at an expo, not just being a fan at an expo. And then when I saw the celebrity list, to be honest, you were what made this for me, because I'm a huge fan.
Thank you, man. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So welcome to Saskatchewan.
Thank you. I was saying it on the panel, but I did a report on Saskatchewan in 3rd grade, and I've been wanting to come up here for 200 years. Just aged myself a little bit. Is it an Oreo? Nice. Side note, ADHD. But
we talk about ADHD and mental health on the Agents of Fandom podcast all the time, because I am riddled with it.
And Ritalin.
Yeah, there it is.
Helps a lot with that. Also, love that these cards looks like they're modeled after the Marvel Series 1 cards.
Yeah.
That looks like the exact same font and everything.
Yeah, that was their plan when they made that. The SAS Super Duo, presented by the Agents of Fandom at the Regina Comic Expo. We got Ross Marquand, Agents of Fandom.
Hello.
Come stop by, say what's up. We started off as a Marvel podcast. We're a full TV and film website now, but we started off as a Marvel podcast. And you're kind of a legend in the Marvel field now.
Oh.
Red Skull in live action, but of course we got Ultron, some more animated Red Skull as well.
Yeah.
What was the difference in your kind of acting process doing the live action stuff with Red Skull versus the animated Ultron and other stuff you've done so far?
Well, the cool thing about Red Skull for Infinity War and Endgame, and I feel kind of bad, I feel like I honestly cheated a bit, because Hugo Weaving, who originated the role, obviously, he had to go in the full prosthetics. Like, it was quite a long process, and if you've ever seen videos of it, it takes what looks like, I think, 2 or 3 hours, from what I understand, to get it on, and then another hour or 2 to get it off at the end of the day. So he really went through the ringer, and I feel bad for him, because it was a quite involved process for me. Josh Brolin, Mark Ruffalo, all of Thanos' underlings or troopers, I guess, soldiers, they all did the same process, built the same process, where it's basically like a glorified paint pen, and they put dots all over your face. So it's like quadrants all the way across. They probably have 50 dots all the way across, and they've done a very specific mathematical placement. And then you wear a motion capture suit that has chips and diodes all over it, so they can, trace your movement through space. And it's funny, because usually there's TV screens spread throughout the studio, so you can see a rudimentary version of yourself moving through the space, what it's going to look like. And it was a hell of a way to work, because you have a head camera sitting in front of your face that goes everywhere you go. You can't shake it, it just goes with you. So they can take off your nose, make your skin red, and all the rest was done in CGI. I mean, still your body movement, still your face and your expression, but everything else is done in post. And it's a hell of a freeing way to work. It feels like you're almost acting in theater.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
When you were playing Red Skull, I'm curious. My ADHD's going. I was so enthralled with your answer that I kind of forgot what my next question was going to be.
I got some Adderall. Do you want that?
Yeah, I took mine this morning, and it wears down at about 5 p.m.
I know. Yeah, same. I took some this morning too, and I need to get back on that.
Yeah, around the dose. So I'm going to swap to my next question. I'll come back to that after. You obviously played Ultron and a mega version of Ultron in the What If series.
Yeah, the most badass version of Ultron, I would argue.
Exactly, and if I'm not mistaken, that was you in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness as well.
Yeah.
So 2 different characters you've hit in live action now in the MCU. Yeah. But What If Season 2, the animated show, is coming out early 2023. Have you done any acting for Season 2 yet?
I can't speak to that, because I don't want to get in any trouble, of course, but you might see me in there, here and there, but yeah, I'm hoping so, yeah.
Very cool. I'm hoping to see you as well, and because the 2 characters you've done in live action, Ultron and Red Skull, have been heavily CG'd, if you were to show up, we got obviously so many big MCU projects coming with the Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars now announced. If you were to get to play any Marvel character and show up in those, who would it be?
So I used to, my answer for years, last 7 years I've been doing conventions, was always been Moon Knight. Because Moon Knight, I think, was always, for me, one of the most complex characters in the MCU, and he still is. I mean, he's the mental health aspect of being a superhero was no better analyzed than it was in Moon Knight, specifically in the Warren Ellis version of Moon Knight, iteration of Moon Knight, from like 2003, I believe, right? I'm trying to think of the era when that all came out, but specifically just the dissection of the dissociative identity disorder and just what he goes through, balancing 4 distinct or 5 distinct sometimes personalities at once. And I just thought it was fascinating because I don't think we could ever fathom what it would be like to be a true superhero or supervillain even and take on the world. And there's got to be a lot of mental health challenges that come with that, obviously. So that was one. And Wolverine as a kid growing up was always the one I was like, I would love to play Wolverine. But then Hugh Jackman just knocked it out of the park. And like, you know, it's like, how can you go back to that character? Who would want to even touch it when he does such a great job with that? So now I often talk about slapstick. And I don't know if you remember slapstick, but he was big in the Deadpool comics.
Okay.
So back in like 1991, I want to say, 92 maybe, there was a character named Slapstick who was created who basically is a cartoon writer. I never remember his name, but he creates this character named Slapstick, who is indestructible and he's super goofy and can like hit him. He's a giant mallet is his weapon, and he teams up with Deadpool a bunch. But he literally, in the world of the comics, he can't die. He's a comic book character, and he can morph into all these different things. And I just thought, what a cool character. That would be one, but the other one I would say, the last one I would say, is Morph.
Morph would be cool.
I just think for Morph, for me, with all the voices I do, and it would be kind of fun to do that, it would be neat to play Morph and actually try to emulate the people that I'm changing myself into. Because, of course, when you're watching X-Men or whatever, when Mystique does it, they're just having the other actor play that. But how cool would it be to actually try to actually sound like the other actor? That would be a fun challenge, I think, altogether. So, yeah.
And with the reboot of X-Men 97 and Mutants on their way to the MCU in the future, that's, you never know, that's possible. And it's so funny how, like, 10 years ago, you just said, oh, I'd like to be Slapstick in the MCU. People would say,
no.
What? Why would they ever do that? And now, anything's on the table. They've shown us that anything's on the table.
Quite literally. And funny you mentioned the X-Men, I met Larry Houston last weekend, who directed all the X-Men animated series, the original, and I just told him, like, you have no idea how important those movies or that show was to me. That show is literally why I became a voice actor. That and Batman the Animated Series. As a kid, I was like, oh man, I would love to play an animated character one day, and obviously never thought I would get a chance to, but like, you know, Kevin Conroy's Batman, Cal Dodd's Wolverine, I mean, everybody in that is just phenomenal, but those two performances in particular really affected me as a kid. And I just had to give him, and I got a chance to meet Cal and a lot of the cast last year. Just had to give them massive props for making such a profound TV show for kids, ostensibly, that wasn't a kids show, that was actually quite smart and challenged kids and challenged morality and introduced these really very lofty ideas from a very early age to kids. Like, I give them a lot of credit for that, you know.
All the people complaining that and misusing the word woke, saying that's now what the MCU is, I beg you to go read an early X-Men comic and go watch the X-Men animated series, because I can promise you it's been this way since the dawn of creation. And I think what so many people don't realize too, and it's so incredible that you've gotten to now be a part of the MCU, because the 90s animated shows, they did it first. They had that expanded universe. There was X-Men, there was Spider-Man. That's why I'm wearing this Ben Reilly Scarlet Spider costume.
That's awesome.
Because he showed up at the end of the animated series when they did their Secret Wars crossover, and it was incredible. As a fan of the Expo, and just if I was an organizer as well, you're kind of a dream come true for an Expo organizer, because you got Marvel, you got The Walking Dead, you got all of these different Invincible.
I did one episode of Phineas and Ferb.
Ooh, Phineas and Ferb,
Star
Robot
Wars,
Chicken. And Invincible, which has taken the world by storm, is one of the most incredible projects in the superhero fandom we've ever seen. What draws you to this stuff? Like, I can kind of tell you may have grown up on it as well, but like, what led you to this corner of fandom?
Well, for me, my brothers and I, we have two older brothers, and you know, we were raised on TV. We really were. We played outside a lot, of course, but we had one day a week where our parents really allowed us to watch TV, and that was Saturday. Mm-hmm. Sunday was for church, the rest of the week was for studies, but Saturday was our day. And boy, did we take advantage of that. Like, we would sneak downstairs at 7 or 8 a.m. Like, I think it was, back it was Colorado time zone, so maybe 8 a.m. And we would just binge these shows for like 2-3 hours every Saturday. And I will admit that during the week, before my parents got home, I would watch Darkwing Duck and Tailspin.
Nice.
I had to. And Animaniacs too, as well. That was
I
a
loved
huge,
Animaniacs.
Very, very crucial show for me growing up too. But
Pinky and the Brain.
Pinky the Brain, you know, come on. Yeah, I think because of that upbringing, because I was so... I think a lot of kids, you know, growing up, you know, they're going through hormones, they got a lot of stuff going on. Seeing a character like Wolverine, or Jubilee, I suppose, for a lot of, you know, a lot of kids too, but Wolverine for me as this perennial outcast who just didn't fit in anywhere. And I told Larry Houston last week, is that one of the most profound episodes of that entire show was when Wolverine goes to Alaska and he lives with that Inuit tribe for a little bit, and he's trying to like fit in and just forget about the world for a bit. And then of course Sabretooth follows him there, and there's this great line that Wolverine says that just stuck with me, where he goes, "There's no peace for me, not even here." And like, you know, as a 13 or 12 or 13-year-old boy who was going through all the crap that a 12 or 13-year-old boy is going through, I was like, he gets it. I know what that's like. And I spent all my lawn mowing money, all my babysitting money on collecting Marvel cards, Marvel Series 1 through 3, Marvel Masterpieces, several comic books. But it was that shared nerddom and insecurity, and like going to those comic book stores and feeling like, oh, we're all outcasts and we're sharing this together. And there's this, you know, shared universe, I suppose, of all these kind of like awkward, you know, kind of nerdy kids hanging out every weekend at Mile High Comics in Denver. That for me was what gave me a sense of community and a sense of purpose, and that's why I was so involved in the fandom, because it was my one outlet that made me feel like I could fit in somewhere, where in so many other places I didn't feel like I fit in at all.
That is truly incredible. Well said. I'm very happy you're a part of it, because it's been a blast to meet you here today, and I'm so thankful that we got to have this chat. If you ever want to either shoot the shit or you got something to promote, you're welcome on the Agents of Fandom podcast.
Okay, cool.
We'd love to have you. Before you get out of here, though, we gotta say hi to our friend Anjali Bhamani, my Illuminati, who I know is your friend as well.
Most definitely. Anjali, we love you. I saw the video you sent them for their wedding. That was awesome.
I love you so much, Anjali. And yeah, thanks so much for joining us. Check out www.agentsoffandom.com.